All right. And right next to me, we have the ANC Women's League Secretary General, Memi Okhomatuba. The SG will take us through the statement.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to read the statement of the ANC Women's League as the 22nd June 2016. President of the ANC Women's League, Comrade Bathabile Dlamini, ANC women mayoral candidates, members of the media. Thank you for honoring our invite to brief you on issues of the organization and the country pertaining to women. The ANC Women's League wants to affirm and recommit that we are determined to push ahead with the mandate of South African women as leaders and mothers of the nation. As the ANC Women's League, we condemn all forms of violent protests around the country with regards to the outcomes of the mayoral candidates list, especially in Tshwane. Ladies and gentlemen, the 12th ANC Women's League conference held in Irene, August 2015, resolved that women across all sectors must be recognized as leaders and they must be placed in all strategic positions within the organization. We want to reiterate that we do not seek to be men, but we want to be treated as equal to our male counterparts. This is the reason we are not going to back down on our call that come the 2017 elective conference of the ANC, we want to see a female candidate standing as the next president of the African National Congress. If we do not do it now, we are never going to achieve this goal. For these municipal elections, we called for a 50-50 representation of women, as is the policy of the ANC. The South African Constitution does not provide quotas to ensure adequate representative of women in elected public bodies, nor are there any legal quotas established for national, provincial, and local government elections. The ANC is the only political party in South Africa that has 50-50 representation in its policy framework. This should be commended, and we are pleased with the commitment of the ANC and its outcomes for its candidates. Out of the 8 of metropolitan municipalities, we are sitting at 3 mayoral candidates, including Comrade Thoko Didiza in Tshwane. This is a tremendous achievement because in this administration, there were no female candidates in our metropolitan municipalities. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be deployed by the ANC and not a right. We wish to remind comrades that the 52nd National Conference of the African National Congress resolved on deployment that at local government level should make recommendations of not more than 3 names of cadres, which is URC, in order of priority, who should be considered for mayorship, and the PEC will make a final decision based on the pool of names submitted by the REC. We want to believe that all the processes of the ANC were adhered to, and we wish to call upon all our comrades, especially women, to support and rally around all mayoral candidates as announced by the African National Congress. This includes Comrade Thoko Didiza, who has served and has committed to the ANC. If anyone is capable of leading Tshwane, it is Comrade Thoko Didiza, who served with President Mandela and President Mbeki in both cabinets. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an election to win, and we need to be out encouraging communities to vote for the ANC, reminding that our movement is the only political party that can move South Africa forward. We want to recommit to South Africans that lapho esingakafiki khona sesifikile. The future of this country lies in making sure that our women are safe, educated, and are leaders in all sectors of our country. This week, we met with our female alliance partners to strengthen our relationship so that in their different sectors, they too take the mandate of the ANC Women's League so that we speak with one voice as women in the country. We also agreed that they will be our eyes and ears in government and private sector and forced to be accountable. The 12th conference of the ANC Women's League has committed to resuscitating the Young Women's Desk, which has since been rolled out in all 9 provinces. The Young Women's Desk was so instrumental in the processes of lobbying for women mayoral candidates. As the ANC Women's League, we want to ensure that young women are better equipped and empowered to take the baton and lead. Ladies and gentlemen, the ANC Women's League within its structures has women cadres with necessary competencies, and appointing them as executive mayor and members of mayoral committees is no act of charity. They are not deployed simply because they are women. These deployed women will ensure mainstreaming of gender issues into interventions intended for betterment of the lives of our people. As women, we are of strong conviction that gender equality will advocate for accountable, transparent, responsive, democratic local government in South Africa. To this effect, ANC Women's League believes of women cadres in high echelons of authority is indeed progressive and they should be supported. We strongly condemn hooliganism and thuggerism, which seems to be happening in Tshwane, and we are calling on members of the African National Congress to agree with us to say the ANC, it's not about any individual, but it's about our collectiveness. And all of us must respect democratic processes. And we call for peaceful and fair local elections. I thank you.
All right, live there from Luthuli House, hearing from the president of the league, Bathabile Dlamini, talking on the 3 mayoral women candidates for the ANC, which includes Toko Didiza.
Be the officials of the ANC Women's League that will be responding to questions. And also would like the members of the media, when they are asking questions, to introduce themselves, the media house they're coming from or representing, and ask a question to the officials of the ANC Women's League. Thank you. Okay. First question. Thank you. Second question. Yes, Conrad.
I have 2 questions. The one, you mentioned about the presidential candidate for next year, that there should be a woman. Have you got any idea of names yet? And also, will the Women's League be pushing for a 50-50 gender representation to go up into the top 6 in the presidency? And my second question, you said that appointing women mayors, mayoral candidates and MNCs is not an act of charity. Are there some people in the ANC, men or anybody else, claiming that it is? Have you picked that up, that kind of chauvinism?
Thank you. Next question.
Shahan Maxim from ENCA. I just want to find out how the Women's League feels hearing from women in Tshwane that they don't want Toko Didiza as the mayoral candidate. And then also, why hasn't she visited Tshwane if she's prepared to be the mayor?
Thank you. Yes. Okay, thank you for the questions, comrades. we will have the President responding to some of the questions, and then we'll give it to the ASG to respond to another round of questions. Thank you.
Yes, certainly. We still feel Comrade Togo should be a mayor in Tshwane. We all know that, as the SG has said, Comrade Togo is a tried and tested leader of the movement. But also, Comrade Togo rose within the ranks of the movement, and therefore she has organically grown through the ranks of the African National Congress. And she has served in other forums, Young Women's World Council of Churches, which also adds more experience in dealing with different sectors of the society, but also dealing with the issues of young people, since they are a challenge as we are speaking today. Yes, we do feel that the issues of patriarchy and power relations are at play right now. Because of some of the placards that we have read. They are about Comrade Togo going to bed. And therefore, which means women get into positions through sleeping. And therefore, we want to condemn that with the contempt it deserves. Because we know women work very hard, and we do have women in South Africa that have shown commitment to the people of South Africa. And therefore, we can't use these tricks when women have to be put in decision-making bodies. But also, why would you elect someone to the NEC and therefore think she is not good to lead the country? So the issue of power relations is very important, which means the country at large still has a big task of dealing with the issues of the demon of patriarchy that always changes itself. Today, it's tribalism, it's bad and everything. And no one has ever questioned a man about being put into a position through sleeping with someone or through tribalism. And all sorts of issues have come up here just because there are those that think we are not capable. And we are saying, give these women an opportunity. You will see change in our communities. And that the situation is volatile in Tshwane. But also, the first people on Saturday evening that we spoke to were women. And the minute we spoke to them, and on Sunday in the morning, they kept on briefing us. Firstly, they said, we accept Comrade Togo. The leadership, I'm talking about the leadership of the Women's League. I spoke to the chairperson personally. They said they've had a meeting. They accept Comrade Togo because when we said we wanted a woman, it was a principle. It was not about names. And then, secondly, yesterday they addressed a press conference to say they support Comrade Togo. And therefore, as the Women's League, we are going to listen to our membership. And actually, they were saying, why are you not arresting these people? Because right now, women feel intimidated. They can't move around because of a few people that want to cause problems for all of us. So women have addressed themselves into this issue, and so we have confidence in them. And right now, some of them are on the ground trying to explain to our people the procedures and processes of the ANC. Now, the issues of women being elected and the act of charity, it always happens in all the spheres of life. Even within the media, you have to fight if you want a woman in a senior position. You have to fight for a story of a woman, leading woman, to be on the first page. Our stories are only on the first page if they are scandals. Why? Because your space is dominated by men. And therefore, patriarchy and the utterances that are there are about all women. They are not just about ANC women. So I think we must understand that it's not only women that are in politics that are oppressed. It's all women that are oppressed. So that sense is always there within our communities, various areas. You will see through who dominates a particular area. The law, judges, dominated by men. Organizations, dominated by men. The church, dominated by men. The media, dominated by men. So this is not directed to the Women's League only. It's directed to all women, and that is why, as the Women's League, we are here to fight non-sexism. And that is why we are going to push for the election of women into decision-making bodies, and also support them so that at the end of the day, they are able to do their work. The issue of the candidate of the president next year, we have not discussed it in the structures. So, secondly, the ANC has called upon all of us to stop discussing that issue up until we start with the processes of elections. But as the Women's League, we are very clear, we're going to push for 50-50% in all decision-making bodies. And whether we start from the officials, but we are going to come with a 50% representation from the coming conference. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be taking another round of questions. Okay, let's start from this side. Could you kindly repeat the question, comrade?
Tshwane Metro is under the ANC, could lose Tshwane Metro. The opinion polls are showing it, the ANC's polls are showing it. Do you think Toko Didiza, putting her there as mayoral candidate, do you think she was having a poison chalice? Do you think she's set up to fail?
Thank you. Okay, the SG will respond to the questions shortly.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. With regard to the name of Comrade Toko Didiza being part of the three names in our NEC meeting, we have received the names from the Provincial Executive Committee of Gauteng. We have discussed names, including all proposals that were made, and we have agreed with the National Executive Committee of the ANC, and it must not be confused, comrades, it must be clarified. The ANC Women's League, it's not deploying mayors. Mayors are being deployed by the African National Congress. We are members of the ANC before we can be members of the ANC Women's League. There has been no interaction so far with Comrade Togo, but we believe that Comrade Togo is the cadre of the movement. All of us are being deployed by the African National Congress. Irrespective of the conditions, circumstances, but we are all deployees of the African National Congress. If there are difficulties, I think the ANC will be able to resolve on difficult challenges. And with regard to Tshwane, whether the ANC will lose Tshwane, we strongly believe, and we are firm on that as the African National Congress, that the ANC will win Tshwane. We are not setting up Comrade Togo for failure. It's not about an individual. It's about our collective as the African National Congress. And if we are to lose any municipality, it's not individuals, it's the African National Congress. Thank you.
I think what the NEC considered here was that one, whenever we take decisions, we go and explain to our people. And when the ANC started negotiating, we reported to our people, the leadership at the time. When we participated in the negotiations, the leadership reported to our people. And I remember there was a time when Comrade Madiba said to us, there are times when the leadership has to take decisions for the good of the country and the good of the organization. And we were fighting about the issues of MK, the disbandlement of MK. Why? Because there was violence where we came from, KwaZulu-Natal. And then Comrade Togo grew up in that place where there was violence. And she was able to lead during those difficult times. And therefore, if she has been able to lead those difficult times, again, our question is, why would she not be able to lead now? But one other thing that we are committed to as the movement is that, yes, like any other organization, mistakes would be made, but we must all be committed to the movement, protect it, and protect our country. And that is what we think the ANC is doing right now. We need to try and ensure that we safeguard our movement from domestic as well as international reactionaries. Some of the people that are participating there are very young. They are not yet at the age of voting. And therefore, we need to come up and be strong and say, this is your future. We are protecting. Please work together with us to move forward. And it's also the responsibility of young people to defend the gains of democracy. And therefore, it's important for all of us to try and ensure that we close the gaps that are there. They will always be there. And we must not behave as if there will not be gaps in our work. In all work situations, there are always gaps. And then the names that have been appointed came from the structures of the ANC. Because before you are a member of the Women's League, you are a member of the ANC. And we ran away from coming up with names because we were going to lose the principle of women representation. We would maybe like that our friends serve as mayors and all that. But we've been running after the principle. And that is why we are where we are today. We never went to provinces to say, these are our names. We went to regions and provinces to say, women. We went to them to say, no zebra in areas where women were not elected at a ward level. We are going to start with women, push them on top, and then thereafter you can consider the zebra. And because our issues were principled, everyone was prepared to listen to us. Now, Comrade Togo, yes, immediately after her name was suggested, I spoke to her. It had just been raised, and Comrade Togo is a tried and tested member of the ANC. And all these other women mayors that are here, they are tried and tested leaders of the ANC. And therefore, they know that when you get elected to a position, there are times where you have to stand pressure. There are times where you have to stand challenges. And for people to say you are a tried and tested leadership, it is when you don't melt like ice when there are problems. And therefore, we believe Comrade Togo is of that caliber. Comrade Togo and other comrades that have been elected here are very strong. We believe in them. They've participated in the struggle, some of them at a very young age, and therefore you can't say to them they need a special school so that they understand politics and community issues. They don't. They've grown up within the ranks, and if at a particular time the ANC taught us about the history of the ANC, the National Democratic Revolution, what the ANC stands for. They are equal to the task like our male counterparts.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have reached the end of our media briefing, and the statement will be shared via email shortly. Thank you very much for coming. We sincerely appreciate your presence. Thank you.
Remember about whether there is concern about their personal security.
Yes, biasness as well. And positive discrimination. There is something called a positive discrimination.
Fully?